Good afternoon to all our viewers and welcome to our Ask UWI session today. Again, welcome. We are happy to have you as we chat today about our MSc and postgraduate diploma in coastal engineering. So again, for those of you, I'm seeing persons now logging on. I'm seeing Dominic and a few others there. Good afternoon and welcome to our Ask UWI session. And today, we're going to talk about a very exciting topic. Today is all about coastal engineering, our MSc and our postgraduate diploma in coastal engineering. Again, in case you've forgotten, my name is Nataki and I'm the Brand and Student Recruitment Marketing Manager here at the University of the West Indies. And sometimes we have these sessions just to make sure that all those persons who are interested in our programs have an opportunity to ask all the questions that they want to ask about this particular program. And as I would have mentioned, today is all about coastal engineering. Don't forget the deadline date for all our applications for enrollment for our September 2024 cycle is looming ahead. It's July 31st. And we want to make sure that you have all your questions answered with regards to our programs, all our areas of study. And that's just why we're here today with this Ask UWI session. So with me today, I have quite a few persons. We have in our chat, Ms. Tumai, who is there ready to answer all the questions. And last but not least, we have Mr. Anton Ali, who is the Assistant Lecturer in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, who will soon tell you all about coastal engineering and the courses and a summary and a little bit of what you could expect if you sign up for the program. We also have with us Ms. Janelle Armour from our admissions department, who's just going to remind us about what the pre-requirements are in case you're thinking about signing up with us for our program. So again, welcome to Dominic and welcome to Karima and all those who will be joining us soon to our Ask UWI session. I invite you to ask questions via our chat. We have our team there waiting in the background to respond to all your queries. Or if you want us to hear your voice, please use your raise hand tool and I will call you and we can hear your voice. We wouldn't mind hearing from you, so don't be shy. You can ask your questions then. So again, welcome to all. So let us start with our assistant lecturer in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering, Mr. Anton Ali, who's going to share his PowerPoint with us and chat with you all about coastal engineering. Mr. Ali?
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So as mentioned, my name is Anton Ali. I am an assistant lecturer at the Department of Civil Engineering, delivering many of the courses, and one of them prime being under the unit of coastal engineering. So I will just share some background into what the program has to offer. So let me share my screen. All right. Can you confirm that we are seeing my screen?
Yes, we are.
All right. So I will just go ahead into it. So in the department, we have many different subunits, right? We have transport and so on. We have fluids, structures and so on. And coastal engineering is one of those subunits, right? So we have courses at the undergraduate, and what we are speaking about now will be the graduate level. What is offered in the graduate level is a Master's of Science in Coastal Engineering and Management or a postgraduate diploma. All right. So to give a little update or a little background, so to speak, the program is a specialized course in the department, right? And it has been around since 2003. All right. It started as an online program and it transitioned from then to a face-to-face. And now we are in the process of transitioning back to a blended program, right? The program as a whole, as I mentioned before, offers both a master's and a postgraduate diploma. And previously, it was predominantly done via face-to-face lectures, group activities, field trips, and so on. Now, all of these activities are generally maintained, even though we are trying to go back to a blended mode, where we would have what we call virtual field trips for some of these courses. And there's one mandatory field trip where we will go as a class, where we will see how the equipment is operating and so on, what data is being measured. And then from that, we will see how we design and so on. Right? So just to reiterate that the delivery mode, was previously face-to-face, but now we are shifting more towards a blended program for this upcoming academic year. Now, there are two options that are available if you decide to take this program, whether it be the Master's in Science or the diploma. You can opt to do it either full-time, which is during a 12-month duration, or part-time, which will be over the course of 2 years. Right? Now, at the end of completing either the diploma or the master's, the program will effectively convey upon you knowledge. Well, the first main objective will be knowledge of the coastal processes, different coastal engineering techniques for the assessment and design of any solution. So, for example, seawalls and so on, you'll get a full appreciation of understanding what data we use, how we assess it, how we look at different solution schemes, and then choosing an optimal scheme or a hybrid between two variables, right? You also aim to impart upon the student the ability to design and assess new engineering schemes. So what is something that is not really known is that when we look at dealing with stuff like coastal erosion and so on, the early avenues of designing would have been hard engineering structures. But a new approach would be, for example, we would look at beach nourishments, right? Which is obviously a little more costly, but it's a new scheme. So that's the second thing we try to impart upon the student, that we not just look at the traditional approaches, but we try to assess and design for new approaches as well, right? Because at the end of the day, the body of knowledge keeps increasing. The third thing that we try to impart upon the student is the ability to develop coastal zone management plans and to be able to assess environmental impacts of these development projects that we would implement in the plans. So for instance, we would have let's say a bay that we may be interested in protecting from further erosion. We will want to have a plan for a long-term goal of what we want that bay to look like. We may not be able to institute every single engineering solution at one point, but we will have a schematic of what we intend to do over a course or duration of time, as well as the maintenance side of it, right? So, for example, it's an iterative process. We may implement a solution. For example, there's the flooding that occurred at the Manzanilla stretch a few years back. There would have been a solution implemented there, and we would come up with a preliminary design and institute the solution, but it's an iterative process. We will find ourselves revisiting that design. So that falls in under the coastal zone management plan, right? And finally, the fourth thing that we would like to impart upon the students is capabilities of implementing and management new research initiatives. So what this essentially means is that coastal engineering, although it has been around for a little while, it's still relatively new. We still learn more every decade. There's some new equation, some new solution technique that's available to us. So the idea behind this fourth ideal that we like to impart upon the student is that to look at the new strategies, the new developments, and try to manage and implement them within our setting in the coastal engineering environment, right? So these are the four main things upon completing the program, whether diploma or Masters of Science, we would like the student to come out, right? Therein making you a qualified and suitable coastal engineer, right? So moving on. So just to give us a brief background of the entry requirements, I know Ms. Janelle will speak about it after, but I will just outline based upon my side what I understand. The entry requirements for getting access to the program is at least a lower second-class honors degree from some approved university within the fields of around natural sciences, planning, civil engineering, environmental engineering, land and surveying, geomatics, anything like that. Even architecture and so on, they usually fall within that realm. We also look at anything from an accredited degree regarding the bachelor's in technology or any high national diploma within the civil engineering background. And we also look at the relevant background that you come from and what work experience you have. These are the factors that are considered, and we'll assess to see whether you are capable of, carrying out with the program. Right? So I know Ms. Jenny will speak about it further, but I will just mention these from the get-go. Moving on. So what are the program courses that typically make up this entire coastal engineering program? So there are generally 9 courses, right? 4 in semester 1 and 4 in semester 2. And after completing the last 4 in semester 2, you'll progress to what we call the research project. So just to give a little highlight of what these courses look like. So once you are enrolled, regardless it's a diploma or a Master's of Science, you will have the first 4 courses. So the first 4 rows we see here, CZEM 6100, which is coastal processes and hazards. Right, then we have CZEM 6130, which gives a course on principles of coastal defense, management, and environmental assessment. CZEM 6101, which is coastal geomorphology, and COEM 6016, which is natural hazards and management. These are the 4 courses that are done across both the Masters of Science and the diploma. A brief description is also provided. So, for example, in coastal processes and hazards, ideally, we would want to provide a comprehensive introduction in concepts and in methods that we use in modern engineering, coastal engineering. When we look at defense, principles of coastal defense and management and environmental assessment, basically this course will enable the students to make more informed decisions about the development of coastal defense projects and so on, shoreline management plans and so on. Then when we look at coastal geomorphology, basically the student at the end of completing this course will get a better appreciation of coastal landforms and how they evolve, things like caves, sandbars, lagoons, and so on, right? And the different processes that cause these to develop and modify them. Then the other course that is guaranteed to be done in the first semester is natural hazards and management. And this course basically gives the characteristics of the different natural hazards, the impacts, the risk management, any strategies that we can mitigate these risks, and so on. And it's more tailored towards the Caribbean setting because we have a lot of natural disasters in our side of the world, right? Now, the latter 4 courses where we have, before I go on, these first 4 courses will predominantly be offered online. So there is no face-to-face classes for these 4 courses, right? These 4 courses in first semester are always done strictly online, right? That's the blended part of it. Now, the latter 4 courses where we see the red asterisk next to them, these courses are offered as a mixture of both online and a 1-week mandatory face-to-face session, right? Now, that 1-week face-to-face is where you would have to come into the university, and the department is in the process of trying to organize, lodgings and so on. So it makes things a little more streamlined for when you come, if you are from outside the country, right? But these courses, like I said, they will be offered online, but there's a 1 week, either in week 7 or week 8 of semester 2, that you would have to come in, and we would be basically be looking at specific learning objectives for these respective courses. So these courses are coastal zone metrics, right, which is CZEM 6102, the first one with the 2 red asterisks. Basically, this course, it introduces the students to the concepts and methods by which we gather the data that we then use to design for, right? So we basically see the different equipment that they are and how we deploy them, what they measure, and then how we use that data to process it, and then how we can use it for design in other courses, right? Then the other course will be CZEM 6106, which is the design of coastal structures. The description for this course, basically, the course provides a comprehensive introduction to the concepts and methods employed in design of modern coastal engineering. Basically, what it does in this course is that you would learn how to design things like seawalls, breakwater systems, which basically break waves to reduce the energy, thereby mitigating coastal erosion and so on. So you'll get a more detailed design. You'll be basically given data and so on, and you come with a design for a hypothetical scenario or a particular place where we gave the data for, right? The third course that is offered in semester 2, where we have that face-to-face week inside of there, is coastal zone modeling. Now, this course is an interesting course. Basically, what happens in this course is that everything we would have learned before, we now show you, fine, we have learned it, we know to do the calculations by hand. Hey, there's a tool we can use, there's a software we can use to literally come up with a design. So we go through these processes in this course, right? Showing you how to use the software, thereby making your lives a little bit easier outside there, right? The final course in semester 2 is Research Methods, COEM 6020. Now, this course is specific to the Masters in Science. So the diploma students do not need to do this course, right? This COEM 6020 is basically where we give the student or we guide the student on the principles of research, how to get information, how to design a research methodology, data collection, the ethical implications of the type of data and so on, how we present our results, how we come up with research proposals, and then writing a report. And the benefit of doing this course for those of you all who would be registering for the Masters in Science is that at the end of doing this particular course, research methods, you would already have in your mind what you want to do for your final research project, which is the final course here for 9 credits. Right? So this course will basically tailor to you what you need to do. It basically outline a blueprint of what you need to do to get the research project done and done effectively. Right? And now moving on to the final course, which is the research project. Now, this research project course, just like the one before, is only specific towards the students who opt to do the Masters in Science. Right? So basically, once you complete all the courses, you then get the approval to proceed to project. This is why you see it as semester 3 here. It's the only semester 3 course. You proceed to project once you have successfully completed all of the taught courses above. Right? And usually you are given just around 3 months ideally you should take 3 months to get this project done. And you can be given extensions up to a year and so on, depending on your particular case. Right? So this is just an outline of the different courses that are in the program per se. Now, if I were to go a bit further, just to highlight the differences between the Masters in Science and the diploma, here we have the 9 courses, and we can see that the Masters in Science, it basically encapsulates all of the courses, right? And they make up a total of 40 credits. Whereas the diploma, it does not opt to do the research methods or the research project, and they only account for 28 credits, right? So it's a decision that has to be made on the student what he or she would like to come out with. Now, bearing that in mind, there are 2 options, as mentioned before, that you can opt to do either of these options, whether it's a Masters of Science or a diploma. You can either decide to do it as a full-time or part-time student. So just to highlight and clarify what we mean by full-time and part-time. So for a full-time student, basically, you will be doing all of the courses with the exception of the research project in 1 year. So a full-time student would do all the courses, whether it's the Masters in Science or the postgraduate, you'll be doing all the courses in 1 year. So for the full-time student, you'll be doing 4 courses in semester 1, and then 4 courses in semester 2. And then you will get, once you are successful, you get the approval to proceed the project, which, like I mentioned, should not take you no more than about 3 months thereabout, right? Now, for the part-time student, we spread it out a bit because we understand that you all work, you all don't have the time to devote as students or candidates who are not working. So we spread it out. What you would find is that you would have 2 courses in semester 1 in year 1, and then 2 courses in semester 2 in year 1 again. So basically in year 1, you would have 4 courses to do, 2 in each semester. And then for the second year, you would have the remaining 4 courses to do. And once you finish your remaining 4 courses, then you will get the approval to proceed to project, which will be, for all intents and purposes, year 3. So the main thing I want to reiterate here is that the difference between part-time and full-time is a matter of how long you take to do the respective program, not the time period of the classes. Right? So all the classes are the same. And I may go to the next slide and you'll see. But basically, before I move on, what I'm trying to reiterate is that the full-time and the part-time, once you're doing the masters, it's the same courses you're doing. It's just that they are spread out over additional year. And the same thing for the diploma, same courses with the exception of research methods and research project. Same courses you're doing, but it's just spread out to another year if you opt to do it part-time. Right? So if I move on to reiterate some key points here, what I should have started off with is in fact that the program is in fact accredited. So once you graduate with this degree, your degree is recognized by the Joint Board of the Moderators in the UK. So you can work in the UK without any problem. They would acknowledge your degree, right? The program is classified as a blended program. Like I had mentioned earlier, that we are in the final stages of approval for this, and we envision that we should have it sorted out before the beginning of the new academic year. All of the courses outlined there, with the exception of the research project, is 100% is assessed by 100% coursework. So there is no final exam. There's no coming in to do a final exam in an exam setting. All of the courses are 100% coursework. So some courses you may have 3 pieces of coursework spread out across the semester. Some may be group, some may be individual, right? But it's all the courses are 100% coursework assessed. The other point that I mentioned before, that all of the classes are evening classes, 48 in the evening, right? Most of the courses are 4-credit courses, therefore we need 4 hours to teach, right? So it's a 4-hour class, 48. Obviously, there are breaks in between, right? We know the attention span of students changes over time period, so we give breaks in between. But all of the courses are delivered 48 in the evening, whether you're full-time or part-time. There is no daytime class, right? Some other things I just wanted to highlight here. There are many resources that are available in the department and within the program. We have a lot of equipment for acquisition of data for your research projects, so any field investigation and so on. We have weather stations, we have acoustic current Dopplers and so on, EDCPs, which basically helps us to measure wave and current data. So for instance, if you were, as a student, interested in looking at how erosion is affected at Manzanilla, if you place a breakwater offshore to reduce the wave energy, we have devices that you can deploy in Manzanilla to get data, to model, right? So we have a lot of devices to acquire data, as well as we have a bank of data that we can share, right? We have echo sounders, tide gauges, and so on. But what we also have is a laboratory flume in the department. So in this flume, think of it as a large aquarium. We have a large flume where we have a wave generator. So we can literally conduct experiments or investigations in a laboratory setting. So we don't always need to go to the field, right? You could investigate different things, for example, wave heights and how erosion occurs with different wave heights, things like that. So we have laboratory settings for that. And we have accompanying devices. So we have wave gauges, pressure transducers that measure pressure variations within the beach when the water fluctuates above. So we have a whole host of different devices that you can use for your respective research. And lastly, what we also have is a host of software. We have software called Mike 21, which is sort of the state of the art when it comes to modeling the coastal region, right? So we have Mike 21, we have CDAS, which is another coastal specific software, right? Not as state of the art as Mike, but it is it is popular and well used. We have Fluent, which is a more of a fluid dynamics software, but again, coastal is sort of that buffer zone between the land and the sea. So we find ourselves having to model a lot of hydrodynamics. So we have Fluent. Star CCM is another option for modeling hydrodynamics, ArcGIS, and so on. So what I'm impressed upon you is that we have a wealth of software, a lot of laboratory equipment, as well as field equipment for doing any research specific in the program. All right. Right, and that basically is in a nutshell what I wanted to show you. For further information and on, you could always look at the UWI Coastal Engineering website. To simply go onto your browser and type in Coastal Engineering UWI, and you will get the site, and it provides much of the information I've shown to you here today, with a little more. Right, the application procedures and so on, they're all there for you as well. And if there are any further questions, you can always reach out to me or Miss Nicole Sumai. Our email addresses are there. Right. Yeah, and that's basically most of it in a nutshell of what the program entails, and what you're in store for once you decide to register for the program. Right. So at this juncture, I would open up for any questions that you all may have.
Thanks very much, Mr. Ali. That was a very comprehensive presentation. And Karima, who is online with us, before I ask Ms. Armour to jump in here, Karima wants to know, would a biology major and a minor in chemistry be accepted or considered for this program?
Oh, yes. So Prima, yes. If you looked at, I believe it's slide number 2 or 3, we looked at natural sciences. We actually had students who came with just physics, geography, and they did well in the program. They got out in a year and a half and so on. So yeah, I see that as no reason why you would not be accepted.
Great. I'm sure Karima would be happy to hear that. And again, for all of you who joined us after we started, welcome to our Ask UWI session. Today we're discussing our Masters in Coastal Engineering, so that those of you who maybe weren't too sure about it, had some questions, some considerations, Now is the time for you to ask your questions. Feel free to just drop us a line in the chat, just like how Karima did there. Or you can use your raise hand tool and I would call upon you and you could chat with us and say hello and let us know what your questions are. But send us your information in the chat. We have all our links in the chat with regards to email addresses. You can email Mr. Ali or Ms. Sumai, who is in the background there responding in our chat. Let us know what questions you have. If you think about something even after we've signed off, feel free to contact us and let us know exactly what you need to know, because we want to make sure that you sign up before our deadline date for applications, which is July 31st. Again, our deadline date for applications is July 31st. So let's hear all those questions in the chat. I'm seeing email addresses coming across to you guys, so take note of the email addresses. For Ms. Amor, Mr. Ali, and Ms. Sumai, who would be able to answer your questions about admissions and pre-requirements and so on. And since we are on that note, I'm just going to ask Janelle Amor, who had usually all the answers to the questions. Janelle, I don't mean to put you on the spot there, but she's usually very, very helpful. So if you all have any questions, she's here to answer them. But Janelle, would you like to just tell our viewers a little bit about what they need if they're interested in doing the program?
Yes, so if you are interested in doing the MSc Coastal Engineering and Management program, you will be required to submit your birth certificate, a CV, a current CV or resume, 2 references. And for all our engineering students, we require a job letter. But this is just to show if you have any experience in the field or if you had past experience that could make a decision on your application. Of course, we will need your official academic transcript, as it is a requirement. However, if you are a past UWI student, you do not need to submit this. We will upload it for you. If you are not a past UWI student, I will put up the email when I'm finished speaking as to where you will have to send your official transcript.
Okay.
For ladies who would like to use their married names, we will require your marriage certificate. And for everybody, any other professional certificate that you all have that you think that may give some credentials to get into the program, you are free to upload those as well. So this is generally all our requirements for all engineering programs. So
thanks very much, Chanel. And I
yeah.
know that as usual, you're always available. I always hear or you're always available to answer any questions. And if you guys even want to come on campus and ask some questions, Janelle or someone else in our admissions department is usually there. I'm quite sure Anton wouldn't mind meeting you, or Miss Sumai. Come and chat with us. We'll be happy to hear from you. And Dominic is asking a question in the chat, Mr. Ali. He is saying there was a course on offer as an elective for the undergrad civil with the environmental degree called, he thinks it was called coastal engineering, but he's not too sure. But he didn't choose it when he did his undergrad degree. He's asking if he will be at any disadvantage because he didn't take that course, or will that be okay for him?
Right. Yeah, so Dominic, no, you will not be at a disadvantage. We actually, in that first course in semester 1, CZEM 6100, we actually covered that content that would have been delivered in the undergraduate and go in a little more detail. So you will not be at a disadvantage in no form or fashion if you did not take that course for your bachelor's degree.
Yeah, and I'm seeing that you answered Anton already, but it's good that the rest of us are hearing the question, because some of us want to know the same things, but maybe a bit too shy to ask the question. I am also seeing an additional comment. Can someone with a BSc in psychology with a minor in human resource management from UWI Global Campus qualify for entry into the MSc Coastal Engineering and Management?
Right. So what we look at, we also look at work experience, right? So the main aspect is that we want to ensure that you are able to handle the content. We want there's a particular course that has a little bit of math in it, and we would like to ensure that you are able to handle that. So we look at not just your background, but your work experience and well as what you have at your bachelor's. So we will always look at it on a case by case basis. So to say that, give you a straight answer one time, I would say that it is a high likelihood that you would be accepted, but we would want to look at more of your background as well.
Yeah. And I think too, if you want to take a closer look at your qualifications and maybe your work experience, because as all our speakers have mentioned, we do look at work experience. Send us an email. Email Ms. Sumai or email Mr. Ali and let us know what your specific experience is and what your specific career objectives are, because maybe you have just what it takes for us to be able to accept you into the program. So you email us, because everyone has a different set of experiences and a different set of qualifications. So let us know exactly what your particular interests and questions are, and we will be sure to answer you. I'm seeing some more information in the chat, and I'm seeing Dominic is asking, what are some of the options that you could do for your research project? Do you have any examples of past projects done in previous years so he can get an idea? Charlie?
Yes. Yes, sure. So Dominic, basically we have a range. We spread across both management side as well as actual modeling side. So the ones I'm more familiar with, I more deal with the modeling side. So for example, you may select, let's say, I like to use Manzanilla as an example. You may be interested in something simple as what would be the effects of implementing a groin if there is significant longshore sediment transport being, moving of sediments along the beach. And we want to see the effects of a groin. So we would basically say, fine, we delineate a certain coastline within the Manzanilla region. You would get your data. If it's not available in the department, you would source it through the IMA or whatever. You would write our respective letters and so on for you to get the data. And then we plug it into the software. One of the software, as I had mentioned, would have been Mike 21. You plug it in, you model what the coastline, how the coastline will change without a groin, without some engineering solution, and then you model how it would change with an engineering solution. So this is like a general idea of what a research project looks like. It also can go on the other hand where we look at small island developing goals and climate change and so on, and we want to use different one-line models. For example, a one-line model being y equals mx plus c, a straight line. There are more complex one-line models that we would use, and we would say, fine, if sea level rise would increase more than a certain percentage in the next 100 years, what is the loss of not just land, but from a socio-economical point of view? So these are all different ranges. So one being management side, and the other being more on the modeling side of where a research project can in fact go. But you will be tailored more, or you'll be guided more, in selecting a research project once you do that research methods course, because we actually help you develop a research project within that research methods course so that you are not just lost once you start the project. You already have almost 35, maybe 35% of your project in terms of where you're going already sorted out.
That's a comforting thought, because sometimes, persons have a little idea in their head and they kind of want to flesh it out. So it's good that by actually doing these mandatory courses, it helps you to literally come up with the idea and get the experience of your lecturers and so on to help. Ms. Amor just wanted me to remind you all that the program is a self-financing one. However, we do have very affordable payment plans for our students. In case some of you all are a bit worried how you're going to finance the study, again, reach out to us because we do have payment plans. Don't feel that it's something that's out of your reach. You'll be very surprised at how reasonable our payment plans are. So we also have that there for you to go away and think about and ruminate on. So Dominic is saying, so essentially you come up with your own project, or do you choose from a selection that the department makes available?
All right. Am I muted? Sorry, yes, Dominic. So basically, we don't have a selection. In the past lecturers have had sort of brainchild ideas that we would like a student to pursue. But what I encourage, or what we tend to encourage, is if you have an idea and you bring it to us, we say fine. We proceed in this avenue and we outline the limits, and so it's sort of like we develop the project together. Now, if you have difficulties, we can guide you, but we don't necessarily always provide a pool of projects.
Mhm.
All right, it's possible, but we tend to more encourage you to, take the
Yeah.
initiative and try to develop a project on your.
Yeah, I think that's the best way. Karima was asking about the job market for graduates locally. What has been your experience with persons who've graduated from the program? Like what industries they go into, etc.
Right. So most of our graduates, I can recall maybe about 5, 6, where 3 have been inducted into the coastal protection of the Ministry of Roads and Transport. Some
What is
of
that, Mr. Ali? The coastal, what? I didn't just get what you
the,
said.
sorry, the coastal protection units under the Ministry of Roads and Transport.
Okay, okay.
Right. There are also 2 companies that would have taken some of our graduates in the past, locally, that being. I can't recall the name right now. I'm sorry about that. But what I want to highlight is that there are lots of regional companies that are reaching out to the department and looking for our graduates from this program. Just a few weeks ago, there was one company in Jamaica willing to provide housing, even when you're in your final year, they're willing to you do the project with them, they will finance all of that. So there are options available to you regionally. Locally, we have the Coastal Protection Unit, we have the IMA. Some of our graduates have even been inducted into the EMA as well too. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. I see someone else asking about the practical aspects of the course. Will it involve me having to go into the oceans, literally? So they want to know, okay, but we're going to study all these things. So what about the practical aspects?
Right. So in the past, we would have had more than one field trip because in a sense, we get a better appreciation of the coastal environment by actually being in the coastal environment.
Yeah.
All right, but that has sort of tailored down a bit where we have transitioned to blended. So there are 2 courses that we have what we call a virtual field trip. Therein is where we will tell you pick a site in your country because we are aware that some students are not from Trinidad, some are from different countries, and it's not feasible to come to Trinidad to visit a site. So we have what we call a virtual field trip where you would go, you would get appreciation of the coastal environment, you would go, you'll try to measure the wind speed, direction, get a gauge of the waves and so on, how often they break, the time periods between them and so on. So you will be going on a virtual field trip, but you would not per se that is nothing high risk, meaning for those 2 courses. You will be basically going as a normal everyday person and just taking your observations. However, there is one course where you will be going into the coastal environment, and that is the coastal zone metrics. For that course, you will be taking measurements in the sea. And we do provide the safety equipment, safety vests, and all this different stuff for you when you go on. We facilitate the whole transportation on the boats and so on. But there is one aspect that is invaluable, and that's that field trip, that week field trip for the practical. We have had many compliments from students in the past that said we should have actually expanded that field activity. But yes, there is a field aspect of the course, and it will involve you visiting the coastal environment.
And I think you just answered Dominic's other question because he's one of our regional attendees and he really wanted to know if he had to be in Trinidad during the 3-month research project in the final semester. So can you just reiterate that point you made earlier about the classes being hybrid and we're moving towards more online in the next month or 2? But then I think you had mentioned there's 1 week of classes here, etc.
Yes. So let me answer Dominic's question first, and then I'll reiterate the face-to-face week, mandatory face-to-face week. The project is not necessary for you to be on campus or be in Trinidad to do your project. You simply need to check in with your supervisor, give updates so that we can guide you as to how to finish your project on time. All right. So for the research project in that final year, final semester, it's not mandatory for you to be in Trinidad. We actually have students in Tobago, some in Barbados, and so on, who are doing their projects. So it's not mandatory for you to be here, right? For the research project side of it. Just to go back to that second semester, there is that 1 week of mandatory. You have to be here for that 1 week. Usually in the past, we have visited different Caribbean islands. We have been to Grenada, Barbados, and so on, where we would have done the field investigations of different countries. But recently we have talked to Trinidad. So there will be a 1 week that you will come in 1 week in semester 2, sorry, where you will come in. We are in the process of, once we know the numbers, we will try to organize lodgings and so on and transportation. right? We have our own vehicle in the department, so all this sort of stuff. And in that 1 week is where we will do the field activity. That 1 week is where we will see you face to face in person, so we can guide you with your research project, in your research methods. We'll guide you with the modeling, because there's some things that you need that hands-on approach with. So the idea is that 1 week that you come in is where we reinforce most of the materials that we would have delivered via the online platform.
That's really good. And I think students will appreciate the fact that, the faculty is there to assist with lodgings and with transport and so on, because we really want you here for that 1 week. And I think it's excellent that we could also include our brothers and sisters and our partners in the islands who want to come and do this program. So you can be at home, all the benefits of home, do the program and just be here for that 1 week. And you could even use some sort of national project. Maybe you have some issue in your home territory that you could use for your research project. And I think that's really important, because we have so many issues in the Caribbean as a small island developing state. And sometimes, persons work with various governments and so on. So you could use the research project to help in your country. Has that been your experience, Mr. Ali?
Actually, yes. Well, from the projects I've seen, I have seen where they have looked at the impacts of sea level rise, the effects of coastal erosion with and without engineering solutions I've mentioned, the implementation of new engineering solutions in terms of beach nourishments and so on. So I have seen, and it has been tailored not just, like I said, to Trinidad, to different islands and so on. I've seen students pursue that in their research project.
Okay, great. And again, folks, we have been putting information in our chat. We have links in our chat. We have email addresses, phone numbers for our department. We have Mr. Ali's, his email address, Ms. Sumai's email address, Ms. Amo's email address. So we really want to hear from you, because remember, today we're chatting all about coastal engineering. If you are interested in doing our master's or our diploma, all the information has been provided for you. We have all the information there. We want to hear from you. Maybe you're not too sure. You may think of a question tomorrow. You may want to even share the recording with a friend, because we'll be sure to share our recording of this discussion here with you in a couple of days, because we want to make sure that you could look at it again. You can share it with a friend, because our deadline date for applications is July 31st, and we would really like to have you all with us for our 2024-2025 academic year. So let me just check our chat. Are there any more questions from Ariella or Kamani or anyone? Again, folks, the session, we had it just for you because we got some requests in terms of finding out information. People wanted to know about our coastal engineering program. So Ariella said she's good. Yeah. And of course, Janelle is sending me messages on the side talking about how great the program is. She really wants you all to sign up. And we actually have a person saying, that the information is quite useful and all their questions were answered. Okay, Kamani said he had all his questions answered too. So I'm really happy about that, guys, because, and I think sometimes too in our own spaces, as we would have mentioned, there are so many issues for us in the Caribbean, and sometimes we aren't sure how we could make a difference. And I think that courses like these are things that offer us that opportunity. So also keep that in mind. So again, thank you all for joining us. It was really an interactive session. We will be reaching out to you soon. Again, feel free to call on us. We are here to answer all your questions. Anything you need to know about coastal engineering, just shoot us an email and we'll be happy to reply. Thanks so much for joining us, and thank you again for attending our session on Ask UWI.